about Donald Trump joins us now from Manchester, New Hampshire. Why do you think President Obama is not fighting ISIS as aggressively as perhaps he could?
I think nobody knows, Bill. I have absolutely no idea. All I know is that he should be. Why he doesn't fight it and why he doesn't fight it with strength and with vigor, nobody knows. That's certainly a topic of conversation for plenty of people. But he is not doing a good job, that is for sure.
Now, if you don't know, and I don't know either, although I think that he believes that his outreach to the Muslim world, that the president's personal outreach, he believes de-intensifies terrorism directed at the USA. I think he believes that. But you said this morning on Fox and Friends, or you implied, there may be a sinister reason for him not engaging ISIS more aggressively. You want to define that further?
I can't define it. I mean, nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows why he doesn't have more anger, why he doesn't have more competitive zeal. He's a competitive person. Why doesn't he have more competitive zeal to knock them out, Bill? I mean, look at what's going on. Look at what's happening. This Orlando attack was just absolutely horrendous, and yet he still doesn't even use the word of radical Islamic terror. I mean, he won't issue the words.
I hammered him in the talking points for continuing that ridiculous thing. Now, Hillary Clinton is backtracked on that. We're going to, in the second segment with Mr. Trump, we're going to deal with Hillary Clinton. I just want to keep it on the Orlando terror attack now. In your speech today in New Hampshire, you made a lot of reference to your policy of not allowing Muslims in here, okay, on a temporary basis.
Temporary until we find out what's going on and what they have in mind.
Okay. But there really isn't any linkage that I can find, or the FBI can find, between refugees, so-called refugees, all right, women and children primarily, coming here, and violence.
So what are you asking?
Why do you think this is a centerpiece in anti-terror fighting if there really isn't any linkage in those kinds of folks coming over?
Well, I don't think you know about linkage yet. What's going to happen in 2 years from now? What's going to happen in 10 years from now? What's going to happen in 5 years from now? Look at the Boston bombers. I mean, they were here. They were already here. Their family came here, and they weren't radical when they were 6, 7 years old, and all of a sudden they blew people up, I mean, during the Boston Marathon. You just don't know what's going on here. They listen to the Internet, and they fall in love with ISIS. Bad things are happening, Bill, and we have to get down to it. Otherwise, we're not going to have a country at all. We're going to have this happening every weekend.
Okay.
I mean, what happened in Orlando is so disgraceful and so shocking on so many levels. And we just can't have a country like this anymore, Bill. And we have to have we need a president that's going to show passion to solve the problem. He sits there, he talks. It's almost like he's falling.
There's an urgency.
Bill, it's almost like he's falling asleep.
There's an urgency. Now, in the Orlando situation, the FBI had the guy under surveillance, knew he was a bad guy, didn't have enough to charge him with anything, so they say. Director Comey spoke today. Do you believe the FBI botched that case?
Well, look, I'm a big fan of the FBI. There's no bigger fan than me. But look, they've had better days, let's face it. You know, they had him twice, and supposedly even a third time they were looking or thinking about it. And he was a bad dude. He was a bad guy. A lot of bad things said about him. And that was a big part of my speech. The Muslims have to turn people in. The Muslims, you will find out. Now, all sorts of things will be said about this guy, and people would say, oh, gee, why didn't we get him? They have to turn people in.
All right. Now, that being said, he didn't commit any crimes. He was a totally free record up until the attack on the nightclub. His father is a provocateur. His father is a pro-Taliban guy. Would you do anything to this man? And what could you do to him? Because we do have freedom of speech here.
The father shouldn't have been allowed in the country years ago when he came here, all right? He was trouble then, and he's obviously, something's going on right now. even the way he did that interview, I said, what's going on? This is guy, you know, I don't know, you call him a professional or you call him something, but the father shouldn't have been allowed to come into our country in the first place. That's why your first question, you're talking about coming into our country. We haven't found anything. They've only been here for a short period of time. What's going to happen in 2 years and 5 years? What's going to happen in 15 and 20 years? A lot of times the children, there seems to be no very good assimilation. A lot of times the children of people that come into the country become a big problem. I mean, you again look at the Boston bombers. I mean, these two horrible beasts, they came in. I mean, the parents were here and they brought these kids in and they became radicalized, I think, later on, I think while they were in the country. So, you know, bad things are happening, Bill, and we have a president that looks like he's falling asleep when he talks about the subject.
All right. Now, we're going to hold Mr. Trump over because we have some questions for him about Hillary Clinton and what she said today. And once again, Secretary Clinton is welcome anytime on this broadcast. Continuing now with Donald Trump, who is in Manchester, New Hampshire. Earlier today, Hillary Clinton did use words she has not used before.
To me, radical jihadism, radical Islamism, I think they mean the same thing. I'm happy to say either, but that's not the point. All this talk and, you know, demagoguery and, you know, rhetoric is not going to solve the problem.
And your reaction?
Well, first of all, she didn't use the words. She said she'd say the words, but she didn't say the words. And second of all, it's radical Islamic terrorism. She's trying to soften it up. And she's doing that because she's afraid of President Obama, who has got a lot of power over her future, frankly, could put her in jail.
But she did say radical Islamic terrorism was responsible. She did say that. And that's a departure from her.
She didn't use the term. She used radical Islamicism. She didn't use radical Islamic terrorism. No, but there's a difference. And she didn't say it. She said she would use it. And Bill, the only reason she did that is because I've been going after her saying she has to do it.
There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, if I didn't do that, she would have never, Bill, if I didn't do that, she would have never said those words.
Well, I don't know that. I mean, but you're much better at that Kreskin mind-reading thing than I am. But
I don't want the credit. I don't want the credit.
All right.
I just said if I didn't pound her on that, she would not have said it.
You hammered the secretary today in your speech for basically saying, look, you, Mrs. Clinton, are not protecting gays because your soft approach to Islam in general or Islamic fundamentalism in general discounts the fact that most Muslims, perhaps most, Sharia law certainly, have disdain toward homosexuals. So you really hammered her on that. Was that fair?
I think it's fair, 100% fair. I'm far better for the gay community than she is. She talks a lot about it, and yet she'll allow people in that want to kill people from the community, from that community. And I think it's terrible. The same thing with women. They want to make women slaves, okay? They want to make women slaves. That's what they do. And yet she's fine with, you know, the women say, oh, isn't she wonderful? She's not wonderful for women. She wants people coming in. She wants a 500% increase in people coming in from Syria that are radical Islamists, okay?
But
they are in many cases.
She wants to take in humanitarian, under the humanitarian banner, as President Obama does, and the Democratic Party does, the entire party. They want to take people.
Then we should build.
Okay, wait. Just let me ask the question. But she would refute very vehemently that she would ever allow any radical Muslim in here. She would never do that. So is it fair for you to accuse her of doing that?
Of course, because she doesn't know who's coming in. There's no paperwork. There's no documentation. Sure, they think everyone's going to be beautiful. These people, they'll tell everybody how wonderful they are, and they'll come in and then they'll blow up a club like they blew up over the weekend, or they'll do something else. Bill, I mean, she's allowing these people to come in, a 500% increase she wants. And they hate women, or certainly they want women to be their slaves.
Yeah, but that's radical.
They want to kill gays.
You're conflating both radicals and refugees. All right, let me ask you this question. You know,
Bill,
we've discussed this. You know there are good, loyal Muslim Americans who love this country, have died for this country.
True.
Do you believe that
many friends?
Do you believe that there is a danger now that because of your hot rhetoric about the topic, and I agree with some of what you're saying, okay? You got to vet these people from overseas. You just can't let them waltz in. I agree. But do you see that you could be contributing to a demonization of all Muslims in general? Is that possible?
No, just the opposite. I really believe it's just the opposite. I have many friends, you know that. I've said it before. I have many friends who are Muslim. I get calls from many people thanking me who are Muslim, thanking me. I have some incredible friends, some wonderful friends. Some are very successful, some aren't. But I have many Muslim friends, and they're thanking me, many of them. Not all of them, but many of them. The fact is she's allowing massive numbers of people to come in, and they're not all radicalized, and they're not all terrorists. But it doesn't take many, Bill. If you take a look, this is one young man that did this damage. 50 people killed and probably a lot more to follow. They're very, very gravely injured in hospitals right now. They're wounded so badly. So this is one man. So it doesn't take very many, but we have many, in my opinion, you have many coming in, and they're smart and they're cunning, and they know how to get through the system. And by the way, they've stolen our passport machines, so they make passports better than we make passports. We don't know who's coming in, and frankly, our president doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
One last question. Do you believe Muslim Americans fear you a little bit?
I hope not. I want to straighten things out. But it's so important that they're tremendous people, it's so important that when they see trouble going on, like they did in San Bernardino, I mean, there were numerous people that saw bombs all over this apartment floor. They knew something was going on. They never reported him or her. They never reported, and that 14 people were killed, many, many people injured. Same thing here. You're going to find out with this savage that did this horrible thing over the weekend that many people said, oh, I knew that was going to happen. They've got to report him because the Muslims are the ones that see what's going on. The Muslims are the ones that have to report him. And if they don't report him, then there have to be consequences.